सात रंग एउटै आकृति, हरेक दिन फरक प्रस्तुति। कार्यक्रम इन्द्रेणी।
नमस्कार श्रोता, इन्द्रेणीमा यहाँलाई स्वागत छ। आजको इन्द्रेणी लिएर म दिवा भट्टराई उपस्थित भएको छु। आज हामी नेपालका लागि पाकिस्तानका राजदूत अब्रार एच हास्मीसँगको कुराकानी प्रस्तुत गर्दैछौं। 25 वर्ष भन्दा लामो समयदेखि पाकिस्तानी परराष्ट्र सेवामा रहेका हास्मी गत अप्रिल महिनामा मात्रै नेपालका लागि राजदूतमा नियुक्त हुनुभएको हो। हास्मीसँग हामीले दुई देश बीचको सम्बन्ध, सम्भावना र योजनाका विषयमा कुराकानी गरेका छौं। आजको क्रममा यही कुराकानी। Your Excellency, Namaskar, welcome. Yहाँलाई स्वागत छ। How has been these 2 months in Kathmandu?
Thanks, Deva, for having me today on your show, and I convey my greetings to all the listeners. Salam and Namaste. Yes, I arrived as Pakistan's ambassador in Kathmandu in April 2023, and I'm enjoying the serenity around, settling down well, and meeting the officials, as well as colleagues and other missions and friends. We also shifted recently to this Chancery, as you can see, and on Chundevi Marg. And I couldn't go out of the valley, probably because of the busy schedule as well as the rainy season. And I'm looking forward to visiting other parts of Nepal and meeting people all around.
Meeting people and tourism are the two things we have been thinking about discussing. How you are finding in these 3 to 4 months that you have been around?
Okay, first I think Pakistan and Nepal both have almost similar topography, at least the North Pakistan, if I may say so. The two people have been in touch since centuries. The sages have been, roaming in the mountains, and the militaries have met. And I think there's a civilizational link, lingual link, and people have explored the stretches of Himalaya. And Pakistan has also been in touch with the people of Nepal, and that people-to-people contact, I think, is the mainstay of our relationship as of now. And with respect to tourism, we have a lot of complementarities. We have not benefited out of them. For example, we share the 14 highest mountains of the world, and there's a lot to see. The hospitable people, the forest, valleys, fauna, flora, and the biodiversity. I think that is still unexplored. We can perhaps do more. Or in Pakistan, I think both Nepal and Pakistan do have a tourism agreement which was signed in 2009, and there's a joint working group, and officials from both sides and those who are involved in promoting tourism, they can get together and carve out some plans for those who are coming to Nepal or those coming to Pakistan, and then also sync them. For example, high mountain trekking, and also the mountaineering, professional mountaineering. These are few areas, and then I think we do have, both of us have splendid heritage religious sites, and Pakistan also has some splendid sites both for Buddhism and Hinduism, and brothers and sisters in Nepal can benefit, and Pakistanis can also come and see this beautiful country.
But, Excellency, there are many issues we can collaborate. We have major mutual interest in major things that are not only in tourism, and not only in flora and fauna, it's about climate change. The major issue but the two countries are not able to collaborate in these issues. Though we are in the same block in COPE, though we are having the same problems, what are the things you can do during your stay in Nepal?
Of course, you're absolutely right. Both Pakistan and Nepal are vulnerable to climate change. We share fragile ecology of Himalaya and beyond in Pakistan, Hindu Kush and Karakoram. The glaciers continue to melt in both the countries. We face increased risk of floods, which is due to glacier burst related floods, which is a gulf. Now and later we will have water shortages, and that will impact the livelihood. Having said that, I think addressing these challenges is crucial for the sustainable development of the region. Pakistan has seen devastating floods last year, as you know. Over 33 million people were impacted, and we lost 2,000 plus precious lives. There was a huge economic loss, and I think that brings to the fore that climate change is not a myth; it's a reality. And we both have, I think, somehow been sharing this knowledge at the global stage, but mostly at the regional stage, under EC mode. And EC mode, as you know, is headquartered here, and they have an excellent repository of knowledge for Himalaya, Karakoram, and Hindu Kush ranges. And that's a good platform to share that knowledge and also acquire that knowledge from other mountain systems in the world. Now that we are going into COP 28, which is happening in UAE shortly, I think the first and foremost thing would be to ask the developed countries to control the greenhouse gases. We are not the net emitters, neither Pakistan nor Nepal. Pakistan, with a global population of almost 4%, we are emitting less than 0.4. By one calculation and another calculation, 0.6%. So we are unwanted importers of the greenhouse gases, and hence those impacts. So that the second one would be start contributing to the loss and damage fund, which was agreed upon in COP27 last year in Egypt, and that was pushed by Pakistan, as you know. So I think that was a milestone, and Pakistan, at the heels of devastating floods, was able to accrue or ensure that agreement, secure that agreement with the support of G77 and China. And loss and damage fund, I think Nepal can also highlight the great environmental services it provides to the world, and likewise going forward we can both coordinate internationally and ask the developed world to start contributing to the fund and start controlling the emissions.
Major issue in the bloc in LDC is not collaborating together, not making the efforts, because there are many countries who are in the seasides. They are given the major stakes in the say to pursue the things with the developed countries, but the Himalayas countries are lacking and they are not collaborating, and that's the assessment few people see. How do you see that? Because Pakistan and Nepal have the same kind of range, same problems, but the Himalayan countries are lacking. While we are talking about loss and damage fund, while we are going through the studies and research for now to make the fund, to establish it and to make the proposition to the developed countries, because Nepal only has 2 years at LDC just to pursue the thing. So how can we collaborate in these years?
I think that is one platform of LDCs, but outside the platform, the region itself is very important. The Himalaya is feeding 45% of the world's population, the water body. So we need to do something about, say, a dialogue amongst the countries in Himalaya, and I think there are track 2 going on right now. And as I said, there are those scientific repositories of knowledge. May that be EC mode, may that be others. We can gather together from other mountainous countries and regions and collaborate and learn and move forward. As I just hinted at, there's an environmental service which such countries provide. For example, Nepal, with its almost 60% forest cover, is neutralizing some of the emissions. So we can have such a dialogue placed on the table. And then also forestrations increase, as Pakistan has done through a billion tree tsunami. So these projects can be brought to the fore, and international collaborations can be invited. Best practices can be emulated, can be taken from one country and planted in another country. So these are the kind of things which we must coordinate. You're absolutely right. There's a coordination mechanism.
I'm just stopping there. Mm-hmm. Though we are not able to collaborate, though we are not using the channels, though we are not using, where is the lack between these two countries? We two countries.
Okay. I think the science of climate change is relatively new. And many countries have been saying that perhaps it's not happening. Perhaps we have not seen it yet. Now that the reality has come to the fore, and I think in doing so, we would be justifying to our future generations that we did what we did. However, there's a need to accelerate. I fully agree with you. It's beyond coordination. We need to realize climate change is happening. Disaster preparedness is another area. And we should build the economy which is climate resilient, infrastructure, our crops, and so on. And if we do not do that, I think we will be caught in many such things, because calamities of epic scale will happen. They will happen, and there will be a cascade, and nobody will be able to control them. So basically, it's more than coordination, it's the realization. Once the realization comes that the cascade of events can happen and no one has control over, I think this realization is seeping. This has come. And with that realization, there's a increased talk of voluntary emission cut and building of climate resilient systems. So I think that is where we need to head to. And we have seen the calamities in the recent past in Pakistan and many other countries. And we have learned that, say, if we were climate resilient, our losses may have been lesser. But now that Pakistan has lost and endured huge economic losses of over 35 billion, for example, crops spanning over 4 million acre land were submerged. 1 million livestock was lost. So these epic scale things may not happen very frequently, but as and when they happen, they are eye-opener. And that is one of the reasons that COP27 did approve what we tabled. And that was a good move.
The kind of calamities we faced last monsoon has caused the wheat, the rice scarcity in the world, to be specific. No. What kind of things can the regional organization, as SARC, to be specific, can do for these kind of issues? Because we used to have the crop bank or the wheat banks or the rice banks. How can those can come in the picture for these calamities and these issues for now?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, because right now we are in a food inflation globally. Yeah. And that is because of, I think, one of the bigger reasons is the Russian war in Ukraine. Plus, the second one is, I think, we've just seen global supply chains disruptions after COVID. So these two global events have impacted. And then coming to the region, you're absolutely right. I think there has been a talk for establishing, and in fact there was an agreement to establish a food bank of its own in SARC, and we do need it, and we need to move on such initiatives regionally, because now with after COVID, international sentiment is to curb the long supply chains into shorter supply chains. That you will see happening in the new systems. So I think, again, from globalization, we'll come to a subset of regionalism where we need to immediately meet demands both in food and also in disaster preparedness. I think that is the call of the day.
Not only the calamities, now the reason is going through a major economic struggle now, because be it Sri Lanka, Pakistan, even Nepal, even Bangladesh to be specific, we are going through economic struggle, except the biggest economic power of this region. Though we have not been able to collaborate or go through the struggle together, where are we lacking?
I think, to me, it is not confined to South Asia, to be honest. It is a global phenomenon. And the global South, or the developing countries, as you would know, are disproportionately impacted by many events of the kind COVID just happened, the pandemic, Ukraine, Russian war, and as I just said, that the supply chain disruptions, These all things have impacted the global outlook, economic outlook. And in that context, I think these economies of developed countries and those of bigger countries, which you have insinuated, they can withstand the shocks. And for example, I'll give you the Pakistan's example, and I think which also holds true to many of the South Asian countries, and that is the shock of the global pandemic is one. Then we had a slowdown of the global economy, then we had global supply chain. But then the most important one, for example, was once it pushed the fuel and the food prices, there was a cascade of inflation. And one more factor which was specific to Pakistan were the floods of epic scale. And then we also had a regional shock, that is, for example, withdrawal from Afghanistan made the situation so unstable that we became the biggest assistance provider to almost 38 million Afghans. So we had an influx of refugees again coming back. So these all factors have contributed, at least I can tell you, with respect to Pakistan. But this is not just a phenomenon which is only in South Asia. This is across the world. But we were more exposed as we see them, and we do have some other reasons and other shocks, and they have accentuated the situation which we are in. And we are hoping that our economies are getting out of it, and to an extent there is a hope, and the slowdown is somehow behind us and we are moving ahead. However, we have a gigantic task in Pakistan to rebuild a huge loss of infrastructure, and that will continue to fuel some kind of inflationary trends and difficulties. However, I think we will be very soon able to overcome them. We have almost come to a frontier where we are seeing a hope.
As we are talking, we have not been talking about the regional thing. The regional things are, regional cooperation has been distant in recent years, and the relations between two countries are being given more importance because of the Russian and Ukraine war. This geopolitical polarization has been in our region too. So, is there any kind of hope remained in the regional cooperation?
You're right, regional cooperation has been impacted at one end, and mostly it is in EU. There were pulls and push. For example, the NATO's expansion is taking place. As you know, that revitalizing SAARC is a priority for Pakistan, and SAARC has carved, by the way, so to say, South Asian identity so to the fore, and the people of South Asia need continued progress. Collective progress, I would say, for almost 1/5 of humanity. And processes are going on. We are looking forward hosting the next summit as and when it happens, and it was due in 2016. It has stalled some decision making. However, the processes are still going on. That's a good thing that SAARC is functioning. We hope that that summit happens the earliest. We are ready to host it anytime. And meanwhile, we continue working with the current chair, which is Nepal. And the SAARC process is also going on. We hope that it becomes fully functional. It has good foundation, good institutions in place, and wherein the members can build on connectivity, common systems, address poverty, address, as you just hinted at, the food shortages, temporary food shortages. We can immediately fill that gap from within the region. Then we do have energy and many other issues, climate change, wherein we can coordinate better, and then we can have a unified position with the outside world. It will give us more power. We are very much hoping that SAARC process continues.
There are two polarizing thoughts because of SAARC. There's one energy which says we need to revitalize it and we need to go further with it, and there's another energy which is pursuing to it's not that required to revitalize again? We can go through country-to-country relations. Are those things Pakistan is thinking about too?
This is very much in fashion that we have sectoral corporations nowadays. And once I say sectoral corporations, country can pursue and do pursue, and it is in their interest, and they should always do so. For example, Pakistan is a member, and so is Iran, of ECU, and we are also members of SU, and Pakistan is also a member of SARC. So one country can be member of many regional settings. Each regional setting has its own focus, so to say. So it's not a binary 0 or 1. So we can have many such relations. It's like one of the scholars has said that nowadays the agreements are like spaghetti bowl. So they are going like this, and they have all these agreements in between, and then maybe there is no coordination, but that is how the growth takes place.
What are the expectations from the current chair Nepal?
We hope that they continue the processes which are envisaged in the Secretariat or SARC documents with respect to its institutions, with respect to centers, with respect to appointments, budgeting, servicing, processes, and whatever highest decisions we can make, we should, and immediately we call for holding the summit.
But that's not the reality. Reality is different, because we can see the Secretary General's appointment and the SARC foreign ministers meeting was not held last year, and we are expecting this September to be held. Those things are not going through. Only it looks good in papers, not practically. So what are the expectations from Nepal government, from the government of Pakistan, to do for SARC's revitalization? Okay. To be specific processes that should be taken.
Okay, there are two processes. One is the top to bottom, and one is the bottom up. Right now, given the situation, we are calling on all the members and working with all the members, including the chair, that the SARC processes must not be stalled. And we should work towards hosting a summit, and it should not be held. The other countries shouldn't be holding the progress in a way that it is almost vetoed. Processes are going on. We are calling for an early summit. We are calling for the processes and the systems to go on as they are, as much as we can. You are absolutely right. This is not an ideal situation, and we can cooperate and we can create. Of course, the buck stops at the country which wants to stop it. However, we are hoping to work around it, work with it. We are not shying away, and we hope that this summit takes place and the processes continue to grow and continue to evolve both ways, and then lead to its, I would say, normal functioning organization.
The major issue, we know that India and Pakistan's issue has hold the summit. We know that. Though we are ready for a few cooperations, can we stand at the same forum, tolerate each other? How can that be?
Of course we can. Pakistan wishes good neighborly relations with India, but based on sovereign equality, mutual trust and mutual benefit. And now it is up to India to create the enabling environment. Notwithstanding the difficult bilateral relations, Pakistan's foreign minister attended the SU foreign ministers meeting held on I think 4th and 5th May in Goa, and then Prime Minister of Pakistan also participated in SU summit, and both were held under the chairmanship of India. So once you say that we cannot stand, we do. Then Kantipur corridor is open. The pilgrims are coming to Pakistan from India. They also visit under 1974 protocol to the shrines in Pakistan. Pakistan also allowed Indian wheat overland to Afghanistan. In all this background, I must also add that India must create the enabling environment, and especially its illegal actions of 2000 19 in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and implement UN Security Council resolutions in letter and spirit, and let Kashmiris exercise their right to self-determination. So these are those very sanguine demands which Pakistan has placed, those high-level exchanges.
To do the high-level visits, to create people and people relationships, the tourism we are discussing about is the major issue of not having direct flights to Islamabad, Kathmandu, and Kathmandu, Islamabad. Though we have two new airports running now, we have plenty of opportunities to do the flights. What are the difficulties between these?
That's a very important question we must have. The direct air link.
Yeah.
And it's a catch-22. If you go to the businessmen and you ask them that, or even airliners, you tell them that we need to operate a connect flight, they say, no, there's not enough payload. Not enough people are traveling. However, to the contrary, only if you have direct flights, you will have spur in travel and trade. And that's one of the priority I'm working, my mission is working overtime. And we're also sensitizing the business community that it's in our favor to have such flights, because right now with virtually only 2.5 hours flight, we spend a day.
Yeah.
And that's a cost also. So I think this is something which is on the card, and we do have air services agreement between the two countries as back as 1976, and it has been revised time to time. There is a lot of traffic, indirect and direct, and it can generate traffic, and then it will also have good impacts on tourism and travel. For example, right now around 5,000 Pakistanis have traveled last year to Nepal. This number can go up. This number has the potential to grow manifold. And Pakistan and Nepal's trade is also not so huge. Of course, we have some other issues, not just the trading, but we have the issues of complementarities of the economies. But we need to identify few areas where we can perhaps do better. For example, we were discussing Pakistan imports tea worth $600 million annually. And Nepal's biggest export is tea and cardamom, and with 90 million plus. A slice of it, if Nepalese exporters can sell, I think not only the trade will increase, but both countries will benefit. And your weaving industry, carpet industry, can also benefit hugely from the knowledge which Pakistan has gathered over time. And then IT is one sector where IT enabled services and all that can bring a lot of dividends, especially for the youth.
Also, there is another opportunity because India has halted the export of rice to Nepal, to world. Can Pakistan step in it? Catch the opportunity? That's
true. This is the discussion we had once I last visited Nepal chamber, and we've noted the demand and we have relayed it. I'm not sure how much surplus Pakistan may have, but I think with what we've gone through last year, will have some issues exporting it. However, I think we can still support Nepal, and the businessmen are working between the two sides, and hopefully they will bring some good news to both the countries.
Also, Pakistan has been giving opportunities to Nepali students to study in Pakistan. Are there any kind of opportunities there are more Nepali students can use? We can just discuss about it. Is there anything you are planning to give more to the students?
Thanks, Eva, for asking this question. Like a good journalist, which you are, you have kept the important question till the end. So to keep the interest generated, I think this is an area where we've collaborated the best. Both the youths benefit. Ours is a modest program. We want to expand it. Of course, with the priority, we'll go with the priorities of Nepali side. For example, we have been offering 25 seats under Pakistan Technical Assistance Program, and universities have also been bilaterally offering many seats. I know a few universities have an agreement, do have agreements between them, and then we also have SEPSA, which is South Asian program, Pakistan's development program. This is again not a huge one, but we do support. So medicines is high on demand, and Pakistan has in fact evinced its desire that we want to increase these seats from 25 to 50. Of course, we will go with the priorities Nepal sets for itself, and we will see which disciplines we can offer how many seats in. I think a good number of self-financed students also have traveled to Nepal, and we guess that more than 7,000 Nepalese have benefited from the equipped themselves, so to say, with the tools and skills, and are contributing to Nepal's development. And this is a little help Pakistan has given. And I think there has been a Pakistan chair at Tribhuvan University, which has been contributing to mutual understanding and knowledge sharing. Number of arrangements besides the government, there are between the centers of learning. For example, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Pakistan Institute of Medicine in Nepal. Their delegation is currently visiting Nepal. They are here. Then there is an academic link between Bahauddin Zakaria University, Multan, and Tribhuvan University. Then there is an agreement for scholarly exchanges and collaboration between Tribhuvan University and University of Veterinary and Animal Sciences, Lahore. So there is a good amount of mechanism. And then also, I think there is an MOU which is between Nepal Academy of Letters and that Pakistan Academy of Letters. And there are agreements between colleges, for example, College of Arts, Lahore, and Nepal Academy of Fine Arts signed in 2015. So there's a huge body of knowledge and also understanding and agreements, not just between the governments, but institutions of learning. I think that is enriching our bilateral relations, especially in this technical and education fields.
Thank you so much for giving me time, Excellency.
Thank you, Deepa. Thanks a lot.
श्रोता, आज हामीले नेपालका लागि पाकिस्तानका राजदूत अब्रार एच हास्मीसँग कार्यक्रममा कुराकानी गर्यौं। हवस् त, आजको कार्यक्रमको समय यही सकिएको छ। म दिवा भट्टराई पनि बिदा माग्छु। नमस्कार।
7 रंग एउटै आकृति, हरेक दिन फरक प्रस्तुति। कार्यक्रम इन्द्रेणी।